Okay, so today we're going to talk about layout. Um, we got a little bit better than PM. You guys got to go to building trades that one day, and you guys kind of assisted, and I was pretty impressed how you guys jumped right in there, and you actually, they had been through the lesson, but yet you guys were picking it up pretty good over there.
Yeah, I was
A little bit,
sawing the wood.
right, and talking about the layout. So layout for framing, what is the importance of laying something out so you're putting your floor joists or your studs on certain centers or in a certain spot? Does anybody know what the importance of that is? What's that? And you had that from last year, but what was the importance of it? Why did you do it? Huh? Right, but why is that important that the studs are in a certain place or the floor joists are in a certain spot? Okay, support's a good one. It is for support. Another thing that you have to be concerned with, if you look at that sheet of OSB on that wall, it comes in a certain size, right? Material comes in certain sizes. So that's normally what you would cover a wall with. Thicker OSB for a floor system, but it comes the same size. It's important that you lay this out so your material works, so you don't have a bunch of waste, okay? So that is our importance of it. Does anybody have their hammer on them? That's perfect, because I did not bring one out. All right, so starting out, if you're gonna lay a wall out, say, or floor joist system, what you want to do is you put your boards together like this. The first thing is you're going to get your length that you need, and you're going to cut them, and you got them to length. So you lay them together like this. Now, these are pretty easy to do without doing this, but think about a wall, and how long is it? I mean, normally on a house, you got a 36-foot wall or something like that. It's really long. So as you're stretching your tape across here, and if you do not hook these together, one may be sliding around and you're not really sure you're way down there. So you got to be sure that this is sticking together. So what you want to do, and I'm going to borrow somebody's hammer. And all it takes is an 8. 8's better because we know how this splits up. You're not going to drive it straight in like this. You just want to take at an angle here a little bit, get a little closer, and you're going to tack them together where them are even, and that'll hold them while you lay out, and you don't have to worry about them moving. If you didn't quite get it, you can tap on that and get that nice and flush. So that'll hold them still. So that's your first step. Okay. There's a lot of different centers that you can use, or not a lot, but there's different centers that are for different purposes. The most common is called 16 on center, okay? That's used in exterior walls usually. Most floor joist systems are 16 on center. So what that means is your boards from center to center are 16 inches apart, okay? But you don't want your marks to the center, because then you're guessing, kind of like drilling those. Guessing doesn't come out good, does it? Okay, you don't get them in the center. So how thick is a 2x4? 1.5. So you want to mark your edge. And if you look down here at this that I have laid out, see how my marks are on the edge of the 2x4. Okay, then I got an X where the 2x4 is going. Okay, so that's where you want your marks. So if you wanted center to center, 16 inches, how much would you have to come back? To mark the edge. I mean, if I pulled 16 off from this and I mark that right in the center, I'd be marking 16. So how much would I have to come back to find that edge mark? How wide is a 2x4? So I'd be coming back half that distance, right? What's half of an inch and a half? 3/4, yes. So that's what you want to come back with your mark. So if you hook your tape on here, you are going to mark, instead of 16, what are you going to mark? What's 16 minus 3/4? 15 1/4. Okay. You would stay right hooked, and your next mark would be 16 more. Does everybody have their tape on them? Pull your tape out for a minute. What is 16 plus 16? 32. Look at 32 and look at 16. How are they marked different on your tape measure? Do you have your tape measure? So 16, how is it marked different than the others?
It has a little red box.
Little red box, and the other, you got some other boxes here, but them are black, right? Okay, so they're marked for you on your tape measure, the 16 on center. It's usually a red box, or sometimes it's just a red line around in a square and it's not colored in. Every tape's a little bit different, but they are marked for you. So you can go right along here. So what would you mark your second one? If this one was 15 1/4, what would you mark the other one? Next one.
32 2/4.
Well, 32 is the center, so you got to come back smaller. 31 1/4. So then the next one, give it to me. Okay. Next one, somebody else? What's the next one after 47 1/4? 49. I just marked here. 63 1/4 to the next red box and back 3/4, right? Okay, next one, Austin.
It would be 73.
Where's my next red box? I just
there.
marked this. No, I marked it right there. So what's your next one?
80 and
So where would I mark it at? Would I mark it at 80?
no.
Where would I-
3/4 right there.
3/4 back from 80. There's 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. 79 1/4, right? Okay. Now at my end, this is short of 8 foot. You know a 2x has to line up on your end just like that, no matter where it is. Okay, so that one you don't have to do anything with. Okay, so once you have that laid out like that, I'm a square right here in my pocket. You only mark one of them. Okay, then you transfer your marks. So you know one has to be on this end. That's going to line up with the end. So you mark that with an X on both of them. Transfer your marks, squeeze your boards together. Sometimes they're bowed around a little bit. Just like that. Okay. X marks the side that the stud has to go on. Okay. Now, what do you think the importance of marking these together would be? Why couldn't I just mark this one and then mark this one separately? Why wouldn't I want to do that? Exactly the same. And with a wall like this with just studs in it, it's not that critical. It'd be pretty easy to do. But what if you had door openings in this and window openings? Okay, if you start laying them out separately, they're going to be all messed up. Okay. Now you also notice where I'm marking these, right on the edge of the 2x. Layout does not get laid out here, okay? Not on the flats, it's always on the edge. When you build a wall or a floor system, you're building it on the ground just like that was there. I think some of you come in yesterday when I was nailing that together. You have to bend over and nail it together. Some of the stuff we work on here is smaller and you're working up on the table, but that's not normal. Normally you're bending over and you're nailing it together. Okay, so you have this together. So then you could take it apart and you could start building this wall. So you just pull this nail out. Another thing that's really important why you want to do this, a lot of times you'll be laying the wall out, but you two may be nailing it together. You're laying another wall out. If you guys are not clear what he's saying, what could happen here is you could grab this plate to spread them out on the floor, and what if you twisted it around like this? Would that be good? No, but you would spot it right away. these X's are on this side, these X's are on this side, just the opposite, okay? So that's important that you mark them together and then you watch for that right there. So that's the most common center, okay? Another thing I want to talk about is it's not always 3/4 back. It's half the distance of the material you're using. Yes, it's normally 3/4 back because you're usually using 2x material. But what if you were using this for your floor joist, which is a common floor joist today? This is called an I-joist for floor joists. So if you come back 3/4, would that be right? No. What would you have to come back? Half this distance, right? Okay, so that could change. There's also floor trusses that are a whole 3.5 inches wide. So that would change that center. So you have to measure this, cut it in half, and that's what you come back if you were laying out for these. So that could change. So what else do you think would be a common center besides 16 that would work for material? If we run our tape across here, this is how wide? Okay, so what else would work for centers? A foot center, okay. A lot of times a foot centers are used if it's supporting something really heavy, or if the floor load is going to be really heavy. Say you're going to have a fireplace in there with stonework going up it. That stonework's really heavy. If you just put that on 16 on center, your floor may belly down eventually from that weight of that stone. So that may be on foot centers, okay? So with that, it's the same process. You're still hooking on your end with them fastened together, but instead of marking a foot, what are you going to come back if you're using 2x material? 3/4 again. So it'd be 11.25. Does that make sense? The next one would be 23.25. Now, them are also marked. You can see they're black boxes, okay, for you, okay. Now there's another center that it could be. What else would work on that for a center? You probably would never see 6-inch on center, but it would work, you're right. What do you think could work here? Look right in the middle. 2 foot on center. Now, 2 foot on center, you'd never see that for floor joists. You could see it on walls if it wasn't a load-bearing wall where there was weight pushing down on it, like an interior wall. Sometimes they're done on 2 foot centers, saves you some material. Same process, you would, if you were using 2x material, it would come back that 3/4. So that's the 3 most common. Trusses, when you set trusses for the roof, the peak part, pre-built ones, those would be on 2 foot centers normally. Another center that is used, and it's really odd, but it does save some material. Look on your tape just past 19 inches, and what do you see? What is that little thing up there? A diamond? Supposed to be a diamond? It's actually a metric, and it's 19.2 centers. You don't see it very often. I've only used it a couple times while I've been building. But it does work. So if you go out, it's the same process. You'd have to come back to 3/4 if you're using 2x material, but the next one's just past 38, and then the next one's at 57 something. Then the next one is at 76 something, and then the last one falls right at 8 foot. So it makes your material still work. Does that make sense? It doesn't fall at 4 foot anymore, and that's the only problem. So you do tend, unless it's something really big, you wouldn't use that, but it is a type of center, okay? And anybody have any questions with that so far? Okay. So our next thing we're gonna do, and I did not dig the stuff out, I'm gonna let you guys do that. Back behind the wall there is some 3/4 sheeting. It has tongue and groove on it. It's like this, but it's thicker. You guys are gonna have to work that out of there. It's leaning up right back there. So work together, go back there, and you'll have to work it out. Be really careful with the tongue and the groove. yeah, stop that for